4 times. I have tried 4 different times at various stages of my life on various different platforms to play Hollow Knight. Each time I get just a bit further, but I always end up inevitably quietly fizzing out. Now, you may ask, why even bother at that point? It's clear that you don't like the game. Testimonials from friends and this coveted tag on the game clearly tells me that my opinion is wrong. And it's my fault for not liking the game. Besides, frequent viewers of my channel remember when I said that Sekiro was bad. But I gave it another shot recently, powered through some of the things I disliked, and it ended up being my favorite game of 2026. Granted, Sekiro only took 2 playthroughs and not 4, but I'm really close to getting the game, I feel. I just have to try a couple more times. It's gotten to the point where I have to strap myself down with my controller and go out of my way to play. Because for some reason, I really want to like it. It's got the hallmark of everything I like in a game. Gorgeous graphics, tight controls, amazing music, but there's one main thread that ties everything together that just fails to keep me engaged. And that is, getting lost is not fun. The main thing that keeps making my enjoyment of the game wear out so fast is getting around in the game. So much of my experience for me has been seeing some area that looks unexplored in the map, making my way over there, which took forever without the dash cloak by the way, and then getting met with some impassable terrain that I'm meant to come back to later on in the game. Then I have to look back at the map and then look for another way forward and then rinse and repeat. And then, inevitably, since I'm getting up there in the years, I forget that that passage is not accessible yet and then try to go back 30 minutes later. Ever since my Elden Ring video where I basically admitted to being a wiki slave, I've been trying to play more games blind. And while I do agree it leads to more fun like I did for Sekiro, it leads to long stretches of the game where I'm just backtracking to some location just for the chance of it being the correct way. I've tried using what the game offers by leaving markers on the map to kind of tell me where not to go, but there's only so many I can place. And I honestly forget what I meant when I placed it. Was it something to come back to when I had the Mantis Claw? Was it one of those dark gates that I couldn't pass? I'm not saying we go full Ubisoft and leave a marker on the location on the map detailing exactly what it is, but one thing I thought would be cool and thematic would be to be able to write on the map, like what John Hollow Knight does when he sits on the bench. At least that way, I can remind myself 10 hours later when I unlock a new ability that applies to that old location. Because as it stands now, I am constantly lost in the game, and forever relegating one of my charm slots to the locator charm. Some people may say that I'm missing a sense of adventure, that discovering new places as a result of traversing a path you've seen before is part of the joy of the game. And I do really like the concept of using new abilities in low locations, but I think where Hollow Knight falls short is the backtracking aspect of it. The best thing I can compare it to is Dark Souls. Yeah, I know, you're tired of the Dark Souls references in video game reviews. But look, I have to fill out this checklist to become a real YouTuber, alright? What's next? Oh, we're flying through this. So, this is what Dark Souls level design feels like to me. Each of these branches lead to a new zone, but you don't have to go too far back to proceed in the game. And notice the convenient bonfires along the way that give you some brief respite. Once you get the Lord Vessel, it's even nicer, since you can skip a lot of this portion, which is just revisiting old locations without anything new. Now, this is what Hollow Knight level design feels like to me. Notice this wide base with barely any benches. Progression requires me to walk all the way here after completing a zone. And that's if I don't accidentally go down this path that has a middle finger for me because I didn't go down this path first, cursing me because I didn't follow this invisible ordering that the game actually has. Sure, there are some points where there's fast travel, but they're far and few between, and rarely go towards the place I actually want to go to. Also, I have a personal gripe with one specific zone in the game, Deepnest. Deepnest is everything I just complained about, times 10. And then also, Team Cherry decided to pepper spray you, so now you can't see anything. The runbacks are more painful, the deaths are more annoying, and for some reason, they thought that a maze level design would be good. If I wanted to play a maze game, I would play Area 51 on Roblox. At least then I could dress the way I wanted to while being lost. And I can already smell your greasy fingers typing on your keyboard, and I know what you're about to say. Actually, you just have to get good at the game. Falling to a pit that you didn't really think about is actually part of the experience. Ugh. To that, I say, a skill diff implies difficulty. I really don't think that the game is difficult, in the traditional sense anyways. To me, difficulty means starting off the game not knowing anything. but then gradually learning the skills and techniques such that the game becomes easier as a result of you becoming better. To me, Hollow Knight has aspects of that, especially with the boss fights, but most of it is more of a chore rather than being difficult. Most of my deaths stem from impatience rather than me missing a jump or being greedy with heals. But that impatience stemmed from my previous point of backtracking being unfun. If I was fully paying attention and being careful 100% of the time, I would not have died nearly as much as I did. But when backtracking, I don't want to give 100% of my attention. It's boring revisiting the same place, so my mind inevitably wanders off to more important things until I accidentally jump into a pit of acid and then get sent 5 miles back. Maybe this is a skill diff, with the skill being my patience. But at that point, if the backtracking isn't fun, why should I pay attention to it? I think one aspect of this is that the game feels like two polar opposite genres. I can't really tell whether it's trying to be an explorer platformer or an action game. Maybe that's just what Metroidvanias are, but I came in with the expectation of an action game with some platforming. So having to slow down my pace to match the abundance of platforming and the traps of an invention platformer was really jarring. Maybe that's just what Metroidvanias are, but I came in with the expectation of an action game, so having to slow down my pace to match the platforming and the traps of an adventure platformer was really jarring. I will say I have been playing Blasphemous on the side, which is a Metroidvania as well, but focuses more on the combat. So maybe I'm just not good at 2D platformers. Just like one of those sour jawbreakers, I always try to include a bit of sweetness within all of the sourness of my reviews. So let's talk about why I want to like it. I mean, just look at it. It's scarcely necessary to remark that this world is beautiful and chock-filled with lore. The soundtrack is also a banger, so much so that it's entered the legendary hall of music that is the first choice of any mediocre YouTube video that you put on in the background. And for how much I complained about it before, I actually really like the aesthetics of Deepnest. I was not expecting a horror area in this game, and they really nailed the grotesque body horror transformations. Plus, the fact that it was one of the first major indie successes in the industry led to so many amazing indie games in the future following their examples, which is a delight to see. And the gameplay. When the game isn't just backtracking platforming, it feels amazing. The abilities you unlock feel so smooth to pilot, and when facing bosses, it reaches into that primal part of my brain that feeds into my dopamine loop. Endlessly throwing myself at the bosses to get an inch closer until I finally manage to win on just one shell left is amazing. And I just wish that there's less downtime between those moments. Now, you may ask, why try so hard to like it? I mean, there's so many other games that I could be playing, and it's clear that I'm not enjoying the game so far, so why not just quit? And you know what? Yeah, maybe you're right. You know, before I would have been all, how does anyone enjoy this game? Or even the more brazen, this game sucks and you should feel bad for liking it. But I've learned in my ripe old age that some games just aren't for me. Video games as a genre is such a vast and endless medium, and it's inevitable that there are going to be some themes or gameplay mechanics that I don't enjoy. It's not a sin if that's the case, and I fully acknowledge that there are plenty of games that I think are masterpieces that somebody else wouldn't be caught dead playing. Even if my friends and other reviewers tell me otherwise, sometimes a game is just not my cup of tea. And that's fine. But screw all that positive stuff, I need views. Instead, I'm gonna say, this game blows.